Okay, I'm Professor K. I'm up inside of the lab for Module 2, and we're trying to create a resource, a new resource, and select Ubuntu Server 18.04. Well, like everything else in technology, things change. So the 18.04 LTS image is no longer available. It's been upgraded. That's what things do in technology. They get upgraded. So find the next upgraded version and get past it. Okay, so let's take a look at what the requirements for this particular lab are. Now here's my caveat. I created a free trial. You must have an account that is a free trial. So if your account is anything other than a free trial, you're going to have to go up here to the account where you log in, and you're going to have to change your account type. Make sure you change your account type to free trial. All right, so we're going to create a resource. Now we're looking at the Ubuntu Server LTS image. So we got two of them in here. I'm going to go ahead and take the first one here. I'll go ahead and click on Create. Give it a second. Now you have the details of this particular resource that we're trying to create. So let's go through the steps and see if it will allow us to do all of this. All right, let's get started. Okay, so what I did was I stopped my video, and then I went through the process of creating this virtual machine. So we're going to take a little trip down memory lane here, and I'm going to show everybody what I did using my free trial. Now the way the free trial works is you're going to be given some credits. You're not going to have a lot of credits, but you will have some credits. And then when the credits run out, that will be the end of your free trial. When that happens, Microsoft is going to try to convince you to give them your credit card. Don't do it. Do not give Microsoft your credit card, because you will get confused and wrapped around the axle with all the different options that you have for Azure. They're very confusing. You go up here and you start clicking on things, and next thing you know, you'll be looking at your credit card and you got a $600, $800 bill. Don't do it. So the subscription type, you pull this down, and I have Azure subscription 1. That's fine. My resource group, I'm going to just call it Ubuntu. You can call it whatever you want, but you got to click on this new creation link here. So you create a new resource group, call it anything you want to, and I call it AC Online. I don't care. Now you got to give the virtual machine a name. Call it Lab 2. These steps that I'm showing you are not shown up inside of the lab instructions. You have to decide this upon yourself. Now it does tell you that the region is going to be Canada Central. That's fine. No infrastructure redundancy required. That's the availability options. Security type, trusted launch virtual machines. All right, the image, this is your image that you're going to use. It's a 64-bit. That's fine. Down here it said the VM architecture will also be 64. Run with the Azure Spot discount. They automatically, that's you don't have to worry about that. You are in a trial period. Costs associated with this VM can be covered by the remaining credits of your subscription. I understand that. So you're in the free trial period. All right. Now it tells you also to check the following options. And if you pull this down, this is where it gets confusing. All right. There's only one free option. This is the only free option you have. If you want to use any other option, well, that's going to cost you. But under the free trial period, this is the option that you can use. It's the only one they got. All right. The administrator account. I called myself instructor. There are certain things you can't call yourself. You can call yourself maybe student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Give yourself a name that you can remember, and then type in a password that you can remember. Scroll on down here a little bit. Public inbound ports, just leave it at the default. Don't worry about it. And go back up here. Changing basic options may reset selections you have made. Review all options prior to creating the virtual machine. Right. All right, so you got your disk. All right, go ahead and leave it at the default. That's fine. Networking. All right, so this is your virtual network. This is the name of the virtual network, lab2.net. This is your public IP. I don't see one, but maybe we'll get one after I actually create the machine. NIC, Network Security Group, basic, public inbound ports. Well, they want you to use RDP. It says connect to the virtual machine using RDP. You'll be given an IP address. Hopefully, we'll get an IP address. Well, let's see if we can create a new one here. What happens if I select this? Static. No, I don't think I have to. I don't have to do anything there. Just let it go. All right. And you'll be given a public IP address. From that public IP address, you'll be able to RDP into this remote machine. That's the idea. Anyway, we'll see if it works. And it says this will allow all IP addresses to access your virtual machine. This is only recommended for testing. All right, so select inbound ports. SSH, which is port 22, and RDP. Now, I did not enable SSH, but you can go back probably through and you can enable SSH if that's what you want. I'm not going to mess with it. It's not that hard to figure out, but RDP is much easier to work with. Okay. All right, so enable accelerated networking. No. Delete the IP after the machine has been deleted. Sure. Load balancing, just leave it at the default. Next, management. All right. So your subscription is protected by the Microsoft Defender basic plan. That's fine. Enable system assigned managed identity. No. Azure AD. Log in with Azure AD. That's Active Directory. No. We're not going to do that. Azure AD login uses SSH certificate-based authentication. You will need to use SSH client that supports OpenSSH certificate. You can use Azure CLI command line interface or Cloud Shell from Azure portal. All right, auto shutdown, enable auto shutdown. You can leave all this at the default. It's okay. All right, next, monitoring. All right. There's not a lot you have to do in here, just except most of it, it's just going to be default. Go into the advanced. And what you're doing here is you're just going through the setup of this Ubuntu image, if you will, this VM machine. That's all you're doing. Hopefully when we get to the end of it, it's going to say, yeah, okay, no problem. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and set it up. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on tags. We don't have to worry about that. Review and create. All right, now it's going to look through everything and it's going to make a final validation. Now this is part of your credit, so when you look at this, don't get yourself wrapped around the axle. You have some free credits. Microsoft is saying that for roughly 1 cent an hour, I guess that would be, yeah, 1.5 cents an hour, something like that, you can run this machine. All right, got all the terms down here. Name, my information, preferred phone number. That's not it. 520. I probably should just left it in there so it'll leave me alone. 5493155. Okay. You have set RDP SSH ports open to the internet. This is only recommended for testing. Blah 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 blah. Look at all with look through everything down here. All right. Look through everything down here. Got everything done? Go ahead and create. There we go. All right. It says perform VM control start stop restart delete. Create log analytics workspace and configure with the same region as existing. All that fun stuff. Okay. So it's still building. You can see that it's still building. Deployment is in process. And it wants us to connect to the virtual machine using RDP. That's fine. I am looking for an IP address here. I'm guessing it's still probably having one assigned to it. So let's go ahead and give it time. Deployment succeeded. Oh, let's see. Now, here we can look at monitoring the health of the device that we created. We can run a script inside the virtual machine. This virtual machine, this is a server, Ubuntu server, so I don't believe it's going to have a desktop for you. You'll have to use the CLI. Okay, all right. Let's see if I can get into the take a look at IP address. So I can now look. A lot of this stuff is very well documented onto the internet, right? So if you want to know how to RDP into your Ubuntu server, you can type in RDP Azure Linux, and it'll tell you how to find the IP address. I'm just looking around here trying to find it. I'm probably going to have to go to the resource. Okay, so that's the let's see. There's my public IP right there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and copy this. Just copy my public IP like I just showed you. Now, I can do this a couple of different ways. I can bring up RDP, or I can bring up PuTTY, for instance, but I'll just bring up RDP. All right, so this is RDP. Everybody has it if you have a Windows machine. If you don't have a Windows machine, then you probably have some other type of remote connectivity. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that IP address into the computer right there. Now I will click on connect. Let's see if it works. If it works, I'll be surprised. I'm never surprised if nothing works in Azure. All right, but we'll see if we can connect. So what's going to happen is it's going to try to connect, and then it's going to ask me to accept a certificate. And it says cannot connect remote for one of the reasons. Remote access to server is not enabled. The remote computer is turned off. The remote computer is not available on the network. Okay, well, I got 3 good things that I can take a look at. And I'll go ahead and minimize this. All right. Connect using the public IP. I'll just go ahead and say yes. All right, so I guess I'll try it again. So it's going out to the internet. It's trying to hit Azure, and we'll see if it's going to allow me to connect. My guess is it's going to time out again. It tries this about 12 times. That's usually the default for Microsoft. It'll attempt it, I think, 12 times, and then it'll error out. Remote access service disabled. All right, so port 3389 is what RDP uses. Let's check the access here. Checking access. All right, so these are the things you have to do if you're having problems. You have to, check your connectivity. It's just a configuration area. It says accessible on port 3389. Let's try it. Let's see. Show options. I'll go with my username here, instructor, and let's see. It says I will be asked for when I get there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and try to connect. Initiating remote connection. Looks like it's gonna time out again. Like I said, it's not uncommon for this to happen. It's just the way things work when we're talking about Azure. All right. Sometimes things are just have to be troubleshot. That's all you can do. But in our case, this is going to be what we call a best effort. Okay. Let's see. Local machine Azure portal. What it probably wants me to do is use SSH. Okay. That's probably what it wants. So if I go up here, now it wants to use port 3389 for SSH. Well, that's fine. Let's see. This is my IP address. Public IP address. Open a local shell on Windows. Okay. Copy and execute the following command. All right. Well, okay. Try it one more time. And it could be a lot of different things that are blocking it, but usually it just requires some troubleshooting. The first time you need to RDP into the machine, this is what we do. I've run into this problem a lot of times with the with Azure. Okay, so it's just the way it works. So it wants to use port 22 for SSH. Now, what I'll do here, I'll try something. I don't know if it's going to work. Oh, okay. So, okay. Check access. Let's see if we can get through SSH. If I can get through with SSH, I'll bring up PuTTY. All right, so I'll just bring up PuTTY here. I think I got PuTTY, don't I? No PuTTY? All right, well, that's not a problem. PuTTY is a self-running executable that we can use for SSH, and it's free from the internet. Been around for about 100 years. I'll go ahead and download PuTTY here. And we're going to go ahead and go ahead and download that. All right, like I said, it's a self-running executable. Here it wants to install it. First time I've seen that. Let's go ahead and let it run, let it install. And then we're just going to go ahead and finish it. And then I'll just go ahead and open it up. All right, so this is PuTTY, and I'm going to try to connect to our remote server using port 22, again using that IP address. Now we'll see if that works. Now this is the certificate that it wants to give you. So we have connected, but I have to connect, I have to accept this certificate. So it says that the host key is not connected on my machine. I'll just go ahead and accept it. Log in as instructor. Should ask you for the password. Hit enter. Now I'm in. All right, so I am actually inside of the Ubuntu server, and I can confirm this. Let's say uname, let's see, -A, and it tells me that I am using the Linux and all the version numbers and everything that are on. If I like to see what files are available, I can just type in ls, and there's nothing available up inside of the root directory. Okay. So I have successfully configured and created an Ubuntu server. So there is no reason why anybody in the lab or anybody in the course should not be able to complete the lab as I have done. If you got any questions, you have any concerns, go ahead and contact your instructor, and I'll see you probably in the next lab. All right, I'm out of here.